Hi everyone, it's been a while since I've made a video, so we're just going to jump right on in. And I'm going to show you how to make cake balls. So for the cake balls themselves, it requires a cake, and I made it according to the package directions. And I made it the night before, so I made sure that it was nice and cool. You want to make sure that it's not warm at all. It has to be completely cool. I also used the Oreo Mega Stuff because it has a lot of filling, and that kind of helps the cake balls form. And I also used a little bit of cream cheese frosting. And to coat the cake balls, I used the Walmart brand almond bark, and I put a little bit of Crisco in it to make sure that it stays thin enough. So I start by crumbling the cake. I take a big piece and I rub it together so that it crumbles up nice and fine. And the reason that I make the cake the night before or even the day before is so that it's a little bit stale. For some reason it helps that the cake itself is kind of dry and stale. Next, I run the Oreo cookies through the food processor, and I do about half a bag at a time because I have a small food processor. And then I mix the Oreos with the cake. And as you can see, it's still a little bit dry. It needs to stick together. The best consistency is about like Play-Doh so that you can form the balls. So since it's a little dry, I put a little bit of the cream cheese frosting. The cup that I have there is a half cup measuring cup, so I'm putting about a quarter cup and then mixing it all together to see if it's the right consistency. And then I pull out a little bit to test it. To me, at that point, it still felt a little bit dry, but then when I added in the rest of that half cup of frosting, it was too moist and it kind of made the balls not form perfectly round. So just be careful when you're making it and don't add too much frosting. So for some reason my camera cut out, but all I was doing was using a cookie scooper to scoop out the dough so that they'll be a uniform size. So the next step is to form the balls, and I just use my hands and form them the best that I can to make sure that they're smooth and round as possible. I know here it's out of frame, but in a little bit I'll work on the next section and you can see it a little bit better. then after all the balls are formed, then I put it in the freezer for about 15 minutes, or you can put it in the refrigerator for about an hour, just to chill them. It makes it easier to work with them when you're trying to coat them. And then here is the coating that I'm using. I break it in half, and then I put it in the microwave for a minute. Here you can see me struggling with it. But I put it in the microwave for about a minute, and then I mix it up and see if it's all melted. If it's not, then I do it again in 30-second increments until it's completely melted. And there, I didn't show it, is where I put it in for the other 30 seconds. After that 30 seconds, it was melted enough. And also at this point, if it's not thin enough, then you can put in a little bit of Crisco, maybe a teaspoon or two, just to make sure that it's the right consistency to coat the cake balls. With this particular brand, I didn't have to do that. So after they were in the freezer for the 15 minutes, then I'm able to start coating them. The way that I do it is I have a spoon in the chocolate along with a fork and a knife. I dunk the cake ball in the chocolate and pour the coating over it. And then I pick it up with the fork and scooch it on the fork with the knife. And then I let it tap off all the excess. And then I put it onto the parchment paper. So it's pretty easy to make the cake balls. It just requires some time and a lot of patience. This particular batch, by mixing the Oreo cookies and the cake, it made 49 cake balls. So it just takes some time. So I like to put a little bit of decoration on the top of the cake balls. So here I'm putting the leftover chocolate in a bag and cutting a little hole and then kind of just putting some stripes on it. It kind of makes them look more round. For some reason it hides the imperfections. And then the next thing I do is clean them up a little bit by cutting off the extra chocolate on the bottom. And that's it. I usually share them with family so they don't make it to even the next day, but you can store them in an airtight container in the refrigerator for about up to a week.